Dr. Rob Pennington with me today. Dr. Rob, thank you for joining me.
Oh, always a joy, Dave. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about stress. And you're a guy who knows something about stress. I remember
Well,
when we
yeah,
talked on my
I've
podcast
been
about it.
fired, divorced, depressed. I've been remarried with two teenage stepdaughters. My wife had multiple sclerosis, so I kind of went through a lot of caregiving, and her passing away, that certainly was a pretty stressful thing. I'm self-employed, which means I'm permanently unemployed.
I heard that.
I know where my expenses go, but I don't know where my income's coming from.
Yeah.
So I think I live with a lot of things that most people are afraid of ever having to experience. And the benefit of that is it's really, what I want to learn about. I want to learn how to not have as much pain in my life and to learn how to recognize stress quicker and move through it faster. And fortunately, that's really very possible.
Well, so let's start with that. First of all, we can't avoid stress, right? We can't avoid,
No.
at least we can't avoid the situations that cause
No.
stress in our lives.
No, if you're alive, you're going to have stress, and I don't like the implication of a lot of people who are out there, in stress. No, you got to have it, and it's about recognizing your reaction to it quicker, so you can have a more positive way of responding to it faster. Stress happens fundamentally because we don't know how to handle something successfully. I mean, if anything happened and our response to it was, "Oh, I know how to handle that," where would there be any stress? So, it's really because of a lack of knowledge about how to handle something that we experience the worries, the fears, the anxieties that can kill us. Really, 65% of the people in the United States, the CDC says, die from a preventable illness, from something that's related to how, frankly, we're not handling our stress. So it's a pretty important topic.
You're the expert, I'm not, but I think about stress, and I think about the fact that what it comes down to, at least for me, is I have an expectation about how certain things should go. And when they don't go that way, that causes stress. Isn't that kind of the root of most of the
We
stress
go
in
through
our
what I
lives?
call the automatic stress reaction. And that's a good example. Anytime anything or anyone isn't the way we want it to be, we get triggered. And what we go through is we hold our breath, we tense our muscles, we have self-doubt, we think negative and get serious. And that just cascades through us. And guess how many times that happens during the day? I think, 15 or 20 times. So we're getting constant waves of that. And it can be very disruptive to our health and to, just the baseline of how we move through life. It can make us, more brittle, less flexible in our emotions and our relationships. One of the things I talk a lot about questions. We can do another interview about that. But the thing that happens is we have this emotional wave hit us that causes us to forget any communication skill. And that's a stressful reaction. And so, I do a lot of stuff around health, but mainly it's around how to help people be more effective at work and at home and dealing with the inevitable disagreements and conflicts that we're going to have, because that's, certainly not what we enjoy and look forward to. We don't want that. And so you're right on when you say our expectations are one of the factors in the stress that we experience.
So to me, though, my expectations are going to be violated sometimes. So there's really nothing I can do about it.
Guaranteed. But you can't not have them either. So, it's a normal thing to want something to be the way it is, to want someone to be the way they are. The way I think about human beings is we can easily be defined by the lessons we've learned and the lessons we've not learned. So that's who I am. My personality is made up of those two things, what I've learned, what I've not learned. And all my stress is my unlearned lessons. And so when we have an expectation and it doesn't turn out the way we want, what we need to learn is, how is it even possible for it to be better than I was expecting? See, we never think that.
Yeah.
But,
right.
My book, Find the Upside of the Down Times, How to Turn Your Worst Experiences into Your Best Opportunities, is really based on that cliche, when a door closes, a window opens. But, what's missing in that is you have to make a change. You have to turn away from the door to find the window. You have to turn from your expectation to something else that might even be a whole lot better.
So we usually find ourselves either standing in front of the shut door crying about it, or beating on the door trying to reopen it, right?
Yeah, it's wrong that it's shut. It's unfair it's shut. They shouldn't have shut that door. And
Yeah,
we'd
exactly.
rather be right about that than find out, really what be possible that's even better than we have imagined possible.
So these stressful situations happen, our expectations are violated, things don't go the way I want them to, whatever. And you talked about this automatic stress response that we all go through, and kind of lay that out again. What does that look like? And then I want to talk about how we can get past it.
Okay, that's great. It's just we tend to hold our breath, tense our muscles, have self-doubt, think negative, and get serious. And that's just an unconscious, automatic, habitual reaction that we're all really good at, and we do multiple times all throughout the day.
So it's kind of like on the cartoons when the guy gets mad and he turns all red and everything, right?
Exactly, and steam comes out of his ears.
Yeah, exactly.
So what to do about it? I love your whole premise is one simple thing.
Yeah.
And so the one simple thing is to break that trance, which is what it is, by doing the opposite of the first thing. So the first thing is hold your breath. So the opposite would be to take some deep breaths. And there's some value and benefit in just doing that. Just taking some deep breaths. Now you can go beyond that to the opposite of each one of those. So the opposite of tense muscles is to relax. So on the out breath is when you relax. And just those two things are really a powerful transition. And they make it possible for you to do the next thing, which is the opposite of having self-doubt, which is not knowing how I'm going to handle something, is believing that I can figure out the how. I don't have to know the how to think that I can. So it's about reassuring yourself, both of your value and of your ability to learn, basically. Then the opposite of having negative thoughts is having positive thoughts, not in a Pollyannish, rose-colored glasses kind of way, but in a, if there's a problem, there's a solution. If it's not this, it could be something better. When we worry, it's always about something we don't want to have happen. The opposite of that is what we do want to have happen. It's called a goal. So the opposite of every worry is a goal. So how do I flip it to the goal and take some action? And then the last thing, what's the opposite of getting serious? Well, I think it's finding some humor. And the quicker we can go through that, recognize the stressful reaction, take that deep breath, then we can actually learn to cascade through this. Now, of course, this is all easier said than done.
Right.
And so on my website, drrobpennington.com, I have a video where I talk about, like when I got shot and how I used these things then, but also a 50-page workbook to really learn how to do each one of these things so that they can begin to become automatic, not necessarily in initial response, but in our second response. We can't control our initial thought about anything, but we can control our second thought. And in that is all the difference.
I love in the workbook too how you kind of use a story based on something that happened to a friend of yours, and you walk through each of those steps of how they responded and how they could have responded, et cetera. So it puts it kind of in that real world where we can kind of insert ourselves.
My book, it's all my real stories. It's autobiographical, and then what I learned and an activity reader could go through. But in the workbook, which is free, I take that first, automatic stress reaction to what I call the stress management response, the speed through stress. And I really go into each one of those steps and talk about, what I've learned to make those real and alive in my life that I'm using every day. And so I don't have any doubt about their value. And I've taught them, like for Exxon, I've received the highest trainer evaluations every year for 33 years, teaching successfully managing the stress of change. So I got a long track record of this making a big difference in my life and a lot of other people's lives. So I encourage your audience to take the step because, they're going to keep having stress. That's going to happen.
Yeah, you're not going to avoid it, so you might as well learn to deal with it.
No, you can learn how to recognize it quicker and move through it faster.
I just want to say thank you. You were the very first guest on the One Simple Thing podcast, which goes back
I was honored.
a ways. And we want to have you on the show here. In fact, you and I were just talking about that. So here in some future episodes, we're going to have you back on the show. But
and I like you moving on from audio to video. Engaging.
Well, I'm getting comfortable with how I look on a camera, so I guess that's a good step for me.
We all got to do that. That's what the stress is.
To talk about stress, right. Dr. Rob, thank you very much for being with me, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sure. Thank you very much, David.